time, weather, and always class.
Breath control and bad decisions. It's our game. With Gen X and Salty J, we'll shout it loud. A celebration of life. Come join the crowd. Before influencers cried on camera for brand deals, there was John Lennon. He was crying on camera for world peace. So today's episode is about John Lennon. I'm the host, Salty J, and here's my co-host.
I'm Gen X. Welcome to Imagine
And
There's No Tomorrow.
imagine being so famous that when you say give peace a chance, half the world's going to sing it and the other half calls the FBI. Like that's the way this guy was.
Well, this is it's going to be kind of another heavy one, I guess. I mean, a lot of heavy things happened during our budding youth, and during I understand that a lot of people are going to be, well, the assassination of John Lennon. John Lennon was more of a boomer musician, and while I get that, you have to remember that we have a lot of Gen X who were 15 years old at the time of his assassination, and were probably were at the time probably listening to John Lennon, having been brought up by parents who listened to the Beatles. And I know for me, while I might not have listened to the Beatles because I didn't quite have that view and that knowledge yet of music. I liked music, and as we talked in a previous episode, I liked the Sergeant Pepper's movie because I liked the music, which at the time I didn't know was the Beatles. And for me, it was the first time that I saw my parents react to something that affected their youth, right? So this is kind of one of those things that happened when some of us were 15 and some of us were very, very little. I was 9, 9 or 10, 9. And it actually happened on my dad's birthday. So the date is December 8th of
Oh.
1980. And it's the night John Lennon was killed outside his apartment in New York City. He lived at the Dakota. And it was, I remember I woke up that morning to get ready to go to school. And my mom was sitting at the kitchen table, just not in her normal, not in her normal position. It was something had happened. The news was on the radio. Something had happened, but I couldn't quite grasp what, because I was only 9 and I could tell that she was upset about it. And then I kept hearing it. And then she said John Lennon was killed. And it took me a minute, but I knew who that was. I knew who that
So
was. And yeah.
I knew who he was. I don't remember him getting killed at all, like, in that time frame. Like, I remember
Uh-huh.
hearing about it way after the fact, but
Sure.
my parents were huge Beatles fans. I used to listen to their record all the time with them, like, crossing the street,
Yeah.
and so I always thought Paul was the pretty one, John was, like, the weird, uncomfortable one, and I don't know, they were a boy band. Like, that they totally were, and I
Sure.
think if they were around today, like, they'd be the headliner for Coachella instead of Justin Bieber. I mean, like, they had people fainting and screaming and just losing their minds, but I guess the cool thing about this was it was before, the phones and social media and everything else, so everything was live when it happened. Like, these people were
Right.
losing their minds face to face with them.
Right. And the funny thing is when I watch old videos of them performing when they were at MSG, at Madison Square, and they show this performance, this live performance, and I'm watching the audience lose their mind and scream. I don't know how they could perform without being able to hear themselves. They didn't have
Yeah.
in-ear monitors. Every single time I watch them, I'm in awe, because I know for me, if I am even if I'm in the studio, if I don't have my monitor face, if I don't have that coming back at me, if that's off, or if I don't have an ear monitor in, and I go to start to sing, it's off, and it takes me a minute to realize why it's off. I'm like, "Oh, I couldn't hear. I can't hear because I can hear the instruments around me, but I don't have that frame of reference." And so when I watch these old videos of them performing these live shows with everybody losing their damn minds, my brain is like, "That is incredible that they could perform and be on beat
That
and
talented,
in
yeah.
key and hear each other. What the hell? Like, it is amazing to hear that. So and just to see that. And I say that as a musician. I get that that might be a little out for somebody that isn't a musician. I get it. But if you grew up pre-internet, this wasn't a push notification. This was somebody's older sibling bursting into your room like they'd seen a ghost, and the whole world stopped. And uh, ye it's it's so hard to imagine now. I make light of this only in the reference of, I like stand-up comedy, and I remember Dennis Leary when he was he always used to say, "John Lennon shot 4 times from the back, Yoko Ono standing right next to him, not one fucking bullet." Another 50 years of
I feel like everybody hated her. I do remember
Everybody
that.
everybody did hate her. If you watch old interviews with them, her presence it was heavy. It was heavy in the room, you could feel it. Even just as an outsider looking at it, it was really heavy, and you always hate to put that energy out there and say, "Well, she was the cause of this," but there was clearly an energy there, and he certainly was of his own free will and own free mind. He could make the decisions that he made, and we're not here to make him a saint. You and I both know he wasn't a saint. Everybody listening knows he wasn't a saint. We're gonna talk about, you know, we're gonna talk about him. He's not the poster of him, not the myth, but him. He wasn't just a peace
Yeah.
slogan around glasses. He was sharp, he was funny, he was contradictory, he was sometimes a dick. If Twitter had existed, he would have been absolutely exhausting. Half of his
Oh,
tweets would have
yeah.
been half of his tweets would have been profound, the other half would have gotten him canceled by lunchtime.
Yeah. And then by dinner, he'd be back on there.
Right. But the music, the songs that he wrote are just stuck in your head like emotional Velcro. You don't get that brilliance without getting the mess. And he was a very flawed individual. Again, you don't get the brilliance without getting the mess, and there are a lot of things that he did that were just like, "Wow, you're kind of a dick."
I had very mixed feelings about him, and I watched some interviews today before we recorded this episode,
Uh-huh.
and one of them really stood out. I absolutely loved it. He was talking about how he's not crushed by the world and the future of it because he thought that the next generation was so rad, and, of course, like, that was nice and refreshing, especially since most older people are, like, always these youths are the children today. So
Oh,
to hear
well,
him
look, I'm the same way.
I'm not. I think kids are badass, so maybe that's why I resonate so much with that interview because I think I think that some of the kids right now are so smart and so rad that it just I don't know. I
They
resonated when I saw that interview. I thought it was
Yeah,
badass.
they are. I'm not
And
discounting the entirety of it, but
yeah. I mean, there's always an asshole. I
of
know.
course, of course.
I know. I know. But, I like him because he said whatever was on his mind
Uh-huh.
and, you know, he he wasn't so much likable all the time, but he was very authentic and real.
He was, and I think that made him personable, and it made him relatable. 'Cause he wasn't out of touch, he wasn't out of reach. He walked around New York without scare he walked around New York, he lived there, he didn't think anything of it because he trusted humanity.
Yeah.
And in the end, that was unfortunately what caused this to happen was that a dipshit decided that he was gonna take this person out, and I don't wanna name him, I have to just because, you gotta say who it was. It was, Mark Chapman, dick. Um, December
He
8th,
even
the
just looks
Dakota.
like a dick.
He does. Oh, if you see photos of him, you're just like, "Oh, your face is so
I just wanna
punchable
punch
for
him in the
so many
face
reasons."
before I even
Yeah.
know him.
Yeah, yeah. So, this is the Dakota, the Upper West Side of New York. It's a famous building, and he had been out he and Yoko had been out recording, and earlier that day, they had left it I don't know, they had left earlier in the afternoon, but he's living quieter by this time. He's raising his son, Sean, you know, um, Julian already being somewhat a little more grown up by this point, and I know that he did not have that good of a relationship with Julian, but he's raising Sean, he's baking bread or doing some kind of a peaceful hobby, and he's stepping back from the chaos, which, to be honest, it's what happens when a former rock god hits their 40s. That's what happened to me. I mean, I started doing that, and everybody knows I'm a rock god. So, you either mellow out or you open up a themed restaurant chain, and he chose wisely. But earlier that day, as they're leaving, he signs an autograph for a guy waiting outside. It's a normal interaction. It happens every day. Happens every day. This was at a time where you knew where they lived. You could stand there and wait, and he's standing there and he's waiting, and he's got the double fantasy album, and he asks for an autograph, and he signs it. And he signs it, hands it back to him, and said, "Anything else? Anything else? Like, would you like a picture? Is there any?" It wasn't a. He signed it and told him to piss off and went on his merry way. He said, "Anything else?" He said,
Yeah.
"No," and he leaves. So this interaction doesn't end. Later that night, Lennon and Yoko Ono return, and he's still waiting. He's still there, but he's in the shadows. There's no big speech, there's no dramatic movie moment, just a few seconds of that history that keeps replaying whether we like it or not. There's 5 shots. He shoots him in the back. This is important. He goes past him, he shoots him in the back. He shoots 5 times, 4 hit John in the back.
Up close. Yeah.
Up close.
Yeah.
He staggers into the code and he says, "I'm shot," and then he collapses. He's taken to the hospital, he doesn't survive. Mark Chapman sits down and waits on the steps. He's got The Catch in the Rye. He thinks he's Holden Caulfield. He's been reading this book, and in his psycho mind, he thinks he is Holden Caulfield. He takes out the book, he sits on the steps of the Dakota, and he starts reading, and he waits to be arrested. And just like that, one of the most recognizable voices and faces in music is gone, and the world collectively goes, "Whoa, wait, not him," because you always think that icons are somehow buffered, like they've got armor, and they don't.
Yeah, just like I said about the astronauts, like, he was a hero, he didn't seem real,
Yeah.
like, he seemed immortal. I grew up more with him in the Beatles than some of his, post-Beatles stuff, but,
Sure.
of course, I love it. I mean, Imagine was amazing,
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
and not everybody feels that way, but, my favorite thing was that he had protests in his pajamas in bed and had people come talk to him while he's in bed in his pajamas. He's pretty much Gen X before Gen X. He
Yeah.
has, like, our
They
what's
did
the
one
word?
naked
He's
too. They were I think they were naked in bed. I don't think he was wearing
I didn't
pajamas.
know that, but,
No, I
it's
believe they were naked.
it's vulnerable and it's messy. It's just hilarious,
Yeah.
and I love it.
Yeah, yeah, and the reaction was absolutely immediate. Visuals, radio tributes, people gathering in silence or not silence outside of the Dakota, and it's Gen X adjacent, and I
Yeah.
say that because, like I said, some of us were 15, some of us were 9, some of us were even younger, and, for me, again, it was the first time that I witnessed something from my parents' youth be taken,
Yeah.
and that reaction of, "Oh, my parents are real people with real feelings and had real experiences growing up, and this is something that affected them." And, you know, it's Lennon isn't frozen. He wasn't frozen in nostalgia. He was still changing and still figuring things out. He wasn't doing a greatest hits tour. He wasn't, mid reinvention, or I'm sorry, he was mid reinvention. He was like, "Okay, I'm here now. This is what I'm doing." So it's unfinished. And so that's
Well,
we get
and
that
he was
linger.
40 years old, right?
Mhm.
Wasn't he only
Yep.
40?
Yep.
So, imagine what hits he would be writing right now,
Uh-huh.
and how many people would be pissed off at what he's saying now even
Oh,
because
do he would be absolutely insufferable, right?
probably grumpy old man.
He
Yeah.
would
I
be
mean,
he would be so You'd be like, "Shut up. Somebody come take grandpa's Twitter."
but, he picked Yoko and he defended her, collaborated with her, and I know she's very much hated, like, she broke up the Beatles, but I'm pretty sure they had issues before she came around. They were all young.
I'm sh
Stardom's
I'm sh
hard.
I'm sure that they did, and everybody should want a partner that defends them so fiercely like that, right? But I
Yeah.
implore you, if you don't know much about her, go find video of Yoko Ono contributing her vocal talent, as it were, to
Oh,
anything.
she's annoying, I know.
There's a whole live show of Chuck Berry. I can't remember what song they were doing, but John Lennon's up there with him, and Yoko Ono, of course, has to come out, and the look on Chuck Berry's face is fucking priceless.
I didn't see that one.
Oh, oh, it's so bad, and he's just trying to keep it. His face is wow. He's I can't even describe the look on this man's face as he's trying to perform this song with this screeching banshee going off. It's so awful.
I'll have to go back and watch that. I watched a bunch of interviews, some of the music videos, and, I mean, he was talented, and
Yes,
I I
extremely.
did learn today about him having an affair with an assistant while he was
Uh-huh.
with Yoko, and that the assistant was 17, so that was really kinda like an emotional jugular, I didn't like that.
Yeah,
Um,
we're not saying that he's perfect. He was certainly flawed. He was definitely a flawed man. Nobody's putting him up for sainthood or knighthood, and we're just we're talking about him as a musician and these parts of him that are, not shitty.
yeah. I think part of it, though, is he didn't try to be perfect,
Uh-uh.
and he did admit when he messed up, and he questioned everything. I mean, the government hated him. I read that they were
He
trying
was
to
on all
deport
kinds of
him.
lists. He was on all kinds of lists. But
And,
why? Because he spoke what he felt.
yeah, he was against the Vietnam War, and that he was so loved by so many people that it was a threat.
It's not about just what he was, it's what he might have been. I mean, over time, the world's turned him into a symbol of peace, of art, of protest, of hope, which he would have had mixed feelings about. At minimum, a sarcastic song and at least one very pointed interview. At minimum, at minimum. Be
Yeah.
he resisted being simplified when he was alive, but death removed his ability to argue back. And that's one of the reasons why this still resonates, not just because of the music, but because it reminds us of how fragile all of it is. The talent, the voice, the person, and also a reminder that the world doesn't pause for tragedy. It just keeps going forward.
I feel like he had fame, he had money, he had ego, but he just didn't have, like, the coping probably to go with all of that. He seems like the older he got, the more he admitted, like, his shortcomings or wanting to change, and I think that that's probably why a lot of people miss him is because they probably saw him coming around somewhat, you know?
Yeah, I would agree. I agree with that sentiment. I think that that's a very I think that's a very big point. he was finally starting to recognize, wow, I really behaved like an asshole when I was, you know, younger. Maybe had some different views, or I was more in your face about what I think or what everybody else should do. And I think, to your point, he was coming around and starting to soften a bit. I don't mean soften in the I don't have these views anymore. I just mean soften in his delivery, in the fashion in which it was delivered, not so in your face, but still in your face without being demeaning and argumentative.
If he was still around, I'm pretty sure he would piss people off,
He would
probably as
he
much
would
as Elon Musk.
oh, he would absolutely be pissing people off. He absolutely would be pissing people off.
He would be
He
on
would, it's
TMZ all the time.
yeah, it's I think at his core, he was, just a really he was a brilliant musician, and it's him and McCartney wrote most of their songs, but without the 2 of them, you wouldn't have had the Beatles, and you wouldn't have had this legacy. They're just the 2 of them together were geniuses, which is probably what didn't help when you get 2 of those personalities combined, and they were both big personalities.
Yeah, yeah, and big egos. I was just gonna say that's why I didn't think Yoko necessarily broke up the Beatles, because I think that they were probably in trouble just from their personalities, fame, and
Yeah.
all the pressures that come along with all of that.
I'm sure that was part and parcel to it, but you can
I know
certainly
she was
sense
annoying and
that when
everybody
she
hated her
was
though, yeah.
yeah, when you don't go into a studio and be like, "I'm bringing my significant other, they're gonna sit in the recording set." No, they can sit out here in the sound booth with the engineers if they want to, or they could sit over here, but they don't come into the studio. They're not part of this. They're not the band. You get that, right?
Yeah.
They're not the band, and that was a big part of it. I wouldn't like it, so I don't blame them for not liking it. I sure as hell wouldn't have liked it either. This person is not part of the band. Get out. What are you doing in here? So that was absolutely problematic. But again, you kinda hope you have a partner who is that defensive for you, who is just, "I will always fight for you." Was he the best person?
Yeah.
No, he was not. He had affairs. He did not have a good relationship with Julian, and that part's still sad. He didn't have a chance to mend that relationship before he died.
You haven't brought it up yet, but in one of the interviews, I think they said that the thing that he said that probably got him killed was that the Beatles were bigger than Jesus. And
Well, yeah, I mean, he said that, then years later, he kind of explained what he meant, but what got
well,
him
I
killed
do
was that
think it
Mark
was
Chapman was a psychopath.
yeah, I'm just saying I think that's one thing that made Mark focus on him. But, I saw the interview and I did feel like it was taken out of context because
Mhm.
I think he was saying, like, the fans treated them bigger than Jesus, not that he
Yeah,
felt like he
he
was.
explained it. Yeah, he did explain it in, later years, and Mark Chapman grew up supposedly very religious and went to Christian camps and did this, and so perhaps that stuck in his craw at that time, but that get him killed? Did that put a target on his back? No, Mark Chapman was just a psychopath asshole who read a book and went, "I'm that guy."
Yeah, "I'm gonna kill somebody famous." Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
it's
and
crazy.
it's yeah, it's like you said, you're right, when you look at him, you're like, "Oh, I just wanna punch you in the face."
I know, I just hate his face. I also learned I didn't know this, but I always thought John Lennon was, like, the stylish one because he had those weird glasses all the time, and then I read that he was super nearsighted, so he had to wear those glasses. I thought that he was just being cool. Like, it was a look. I don't
That's
know,
funny.
like, he had his own style, and come to find out it was a necessity, so I was
Well, but
completely
he
wrong
did
on
have his
that.
own style. You can be nearsighted and still have style.
No, I know, but I'm just saying, you know how, like, Elton John has the ridiculous glasses? I just thought it was
Sure.
more a fashion statement than utility, you know? And I also read that he didn't like baths very much and that he smelled very earthy, which I know, I'm not a fan of that.
Yeah, I've read a lot about that kind of stuff too. It's like, come on, you can't. Yeah, it's again, it's that you got that brilliance with this other piece where it's like, just get in the shower. Would you wipe this? Get the stink off of you. You don't get to run around for weeks at a time without bathing. Just here, here's a bar of
Yeah.
soap. It
Yeah,
goes with
and
that.
I read
It
that
goes with that genius. It just does. It's weird.
when he was growing up, like, they said he was a troublemaker and his teachers didn't think that he would amount to anything, so that's kinda neat. I'm sure those teachers were, eating their words.
Yeah,
Kinda like how they
that
told us we wouldn't carry a calculator, like,
yeah, you're not always gonna have a
teachers lie.
calculator on you. Ha ha. What about now, huh, teacher? I got a calculator everywhere.
I don't know, some things, like, he's kinda hypocritical, like, he wrote Imagine, and then he's living in some giant penthouse, like, his lifestyle didn't match what he was preaching.
Um,
I like what he was preaching, but I feel like he was still a diva, I don't know.
well,
Do you feel
I think you
differently?
can I think you can say that of every musician who's getting out there on their pedestal and preaching what the poor should do while living in a penthouse apartment or living in a multi-million-dollar mansion and being like, "You should give all your money away." You first.
Yeah, that just
I
happened
don't
with Billie
have money to
Eilish.
give away because I'm poor. You have
Yeah.
$1 billion. You first. Get rid of your house. Go live in a tent. I get it. You're not wrong. It is. It's very much you. I feel like you don't get to preach from that high pulpit when your pulpit is even higher in penthouse suite. But
I'm
again,
gonna call
these people
myself out
also
today too.
these people have money. I don't care how they live. When it annoys me is when they preach about how others should live.
I, I'm gonna call myself out on this. The reason I watched
I
his
love when you do
interviews
this.
earlier. I know. People are gonna listen and be like, "What is wrong with her?" And it's everything. But, I watched interviews today because I was gonna try to learn his accent and open it up with you, like, start talking like him to start.
No. No.
Well, I found
No.
out that he did that actually. Apparently, he loved voices and switching accents and doing characters and stuff, so I thought that would be funny, but I was trying and I sounded like Australian and Irish, and it wasn't gonna work, so, I didn't do it, but you would have died laughing.
Well, you can do it later when we're done recording so I can hear it.
N it n it was bad. I'm ashamed. Idea,
I'm ashamed. I'm so ashamed.
primo, execution, not so much.
Theoretically, it sounded great. In practice, ooh, it was a bad idea.
Yeah, it was. But we all evolve, right? Like, look at him. He started out with like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah," and then he writes like "Imagine," you know?
Sure.
So
It's that
yeah.
it's the evolution, over time of, "I'm this age, and so I do this," but as time goes by, you change. Maybe I don't do that style anymore, and I'm more into this, or I like this better, and a lot of musicians do that, obviously, but witnessing that, witnessing from where they started to what when they all went solo to what they each did, and I like a little bit of everybody's solo stuff. There isn't one.
I do too.
Even Ringo has stuff that I rather enjoy, and it's it's interesting to witness that evolution, and thank God we did get to see that. And
Yeah.
we do have that catalog. We do have that music from him. It's just people are still gonna argue over which album was overrated. People are still gonna argue they like the early stuff better, and they're like, "That's fine. That's cool. You're entitled to your opinion. That's what it is. Everybody's gonna like something different. Everybody's gonna like early stuff. They're not gonna like his later stuff." There's I was watching something, I think this past weekend, about John Lennon, and it was a music critic talking about one of his greatest songs that he'll use it as one of my favorite songs is his greatest song, and it's "Cold Turkey," and I can't even get through 30 seconds of that song.
Yeah, I mean, everybody has their favorites, but I just feel like from listening to his music, the evolution of it, it just got so much more deep and meaningful. So
Mhm.
or that's what it felt like personally. But,
Sure.
he gave us peace anthems, but he was a complete nightmare for PR. I
He
mean,
absolutely
I
absolutely was. Could you imagine
it's
trying to rein that in?
no, I mean, it would be yeah,
And
yeah.
it's
And
he's the very first artist that Elton John wrote a death song for. So the trajectory was John Lennon, Marilyn Monroe, Princess Diana. That's if you need a funeral
gosh.
song, go to Elton John. So Elton John wrote, Empty Garden, and that's Hey Hey Johnny. That's about the death of John Lennon. It's a beautiful song. I have it in my Spotify. It's in one of my playlists, and I love that. It's absolutely beautiful. It's so well written, and you can feel it. You can feel the pain. You get that sense of longing for this person to still be there and what he could have become. It's the whole, there's nobody there to water his garden. There's nobody there. This would have produced something beautiful. And it's a gorgeous song. If you've not heard it, I please go give it a chance. It's like I said, it's called Empty Garden, Hey Hey Johnny, and it's a beautiful song. But that is what it's
Yeah,
about.
well,
It is about John Lennon.
my favorite band, the Dirty Heads, they, reference John Lennon in a song too, and they don't really go into it, they don't have any, interviews that I've seen that has an opinion about John Lennon, so I don't know the backstory of how he inspired him or but a lot of them say that or a lot of people say it's them trying to have, like, that good vibes, feel good energy, it's reggae music, and that
Yeah.
it's, like, kinda relatable to the imaginary era, like, it's peaceful,
Yeah.
but that just kinda shows that he's still inspiring people now in the recent, and it's good we're talking about him because he is still around somewhat.
Mhm. Mhm. And I enjoy, I enjoy the Beatles and their older stuff, and then I enjoy some of his John Lennon solo stuff. I always liked the raspy voice when he was singing, when he had that rasp. Like, when they did Twist and Shout, which I know is a cover, but when they did Twist and Shout, he's got that raspy going on. I it's so I like every single time I try to think of an example, I feel like I'm on the spot, and then my brain's like, and I can't think of anything, but
It's
I
hard
like
to,
that
like
I like that raspy tone, and then on the flip side, I liked it there's other stuff that doesn't have that raspy quality to it, and I like it too. And so basically what I'm saying is I like all of it, so just shut up, stupid, you sound like an idiot.
no, you don't. Did you know that he wasn't raised by his mom?
Well, I think his mom died when he was 17, 15. I wanna say? I think he was a teenager when she died, or what
I read
I
that
think.
mostly he was raised by his aunt and that she was, like, super strict,
Yeah.
and so I wonder if that's part of why he had such a strong personality. Um,
It could be.
yeah, his mom's name was Julia, which was my name, so that's
Yeah,
kinda neat.
the Beatles song Julia is about her.
Yeah. I thought it was about me.
Well, obviously. I mean, obs.
Alright, I know. Um, I have his weird humor. No. I'm glad you decided to do this one for your write-up. every time we record, Jennifer does one and I do an episode on writing them out, and this was one that she picked, and I like it. I loved going down the wormhole of studying him because I didn't know everything, and I still don't know everything, but I know a lot more. And he was cool even if he was an asshole.
Yeah, that's really what it comes down to, right? Is he was cool, but he was also kind of a dick.
Yeah. I mean, how can you have like he's brilliant and messy, like he's confrontational, but then somehow he's promoting peace and he was like introspective, but then he was still like really impulsive too. And
Uh-huh.
I think the older he got, the more introspective he was. Like he talked about being a bad partner and trying to do better. So I think he was figuring it out, I hope.
I think he was too, and he, unfortunately, he went through some bad times, addiction. He had addiction issues, and he was not a good partner to either of his wives. And that comes with being young and having a lot of money and being very, very famous, and then not having that anymore, I think, and trying to figure out where you're gonna go, and do you reinvent yourself? Do you do this? Do you do that? And I agree with you that as he was getting older, like, it's funny we say as he was getting older, he was 40, for fuck's sake, that's not old. And
Yeah.
but as he was getting older, he was getting introspective about, "Yeah, I've done some bad shit, and I need to fix that. I need to fix that."
Yeah,
And
and I read that he took a hiatus and was calling himself a house husband so that he
mhm.
could raise Sean. So
Yeah, it's what he
that's
was
pretty
doing.
cool.
He was trying to raise Sean, and like I said, he was baking bread or doing some other peaceful shit. I don't know. He was I like to think he was there in the Dakota in the apartment baking, just baking bread. Because that seems very hippie-ish to do. Like, I love to bake bread. I'm not a hippie, but I love to bake bread, but I just that's just kinda where I put him, like, the stinky guy who's baking bread, that tracks.
Yeah. He's definitely like the hippie with the weird glasses. I know.
He would probably not like to be considered a symbol of certain things. I don't think he would like being, "Oh, now I'm a saint." No, he would have very mixed feelings about that. I think. That's my personal opinion. Um, but people are still gonna argue about the songs, and people are still gonna argue about whether or not he was talented, as people are still gonna argue about whether or not he was a good human, or he was this, or he was that, but that's what we should do because it's part of the ritual, and that's what he would do.
He gave us music that made us feel, and
Mhm.
he also made everybody furious. And I think he would want to be remembered for all of it just because of his personality.
He would. He would, and I hope that Mark Chapman continues to rot in jail, and then after that, he rots in hell.
Yeah, me too. All right. Well, um, I like that we have the different feedback on him because I didn't remember a lot of it and studied it. You kinda lived some of this. It's kinda neat unpacking it.
Yeah. I I enjoy doing the episodes that maybe it's enjoyable to me when I write it and I send it over to you, and you go, "I didn't know a lot of the stuff, and I went down these rabbit holes." Like, it's so cool for me to hear that instead of just going, "Yeah, that's cool, we'll do it," and you just do it instead you go, "I didn't know a whole lot about this person. I didn't know a whole lot about this subject. I'm gonna go I'm gonna go down some rabbit holes, and I'm gonna do this," and that way I'm better informed to do this role, because we could have put this episode off for a while. I wrote it a couple weeks ago. We could have put this off until you were in a position where you were like, "I'm comfortable with doing it." But instead, you look at it and you go, "Yeah, I wanna learn. I'm gonna go down and do this." And for me, for somebody like me, because most of my stuff is obviously more music related, for me, it's very interesting for me to share this, and I like writing these up and going down some more deep dives and pulling out some more information, but I like that that you are curious enough to go and do some research as well because 'cause you're curious about it.
Well, I mean, we're not gonna know everything about all of each other's experiences, especially since we have such different upbringings, but I feel like we have the same core, our whole generation does, and that's why it flows.
Mhm.
And people are either gonna learn new stuff on this or remember it like you. So,
Or they're
we're
gonna
all in
be
it
like, "Nope,
together.
that's wrong. Nope, that's wrong. Nope, nope, that's wrong."
They might, especially if I'm telling them, because I was just watching interviews and reading articles today
Yeah.
and
No,
yesterday.
it's one of those things. I always remember the shots because I remember hearing about it, but I also remember the Dennis Leary bit where he's talking about, he 5 shots, 4 hit John Lennon, Yoko Ono standing right next to him, not 1 fucking bullet. It's
I'm sure
it's
a lot of
it's
people thought
dark,
that
but
he just said it out loud.
it's fucking hilarious.
It kinda is. I
And
mean,
and Chapman is such a coward. He fucking shot him 4 times in the back. In the fucking back. What a piece of shit.
that's because he was a coward.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I do wanna say, I think my biggest takeaway from it is that I love that he was doing, like, Gen X behaviors as far as, like, sitting in his pajamas talking to reporters. He just didn't give a fuck, and
He did not.
honestly, yeah,
He
and
didn't.
and
He
he
was
probably
honest and he was real.
I think that's probably my favorite takeaway from all of it, seriously.
Yeah.
And, he's probably 100% why media have training today on what to say with difficult people. I mean, he has, like I hate to compare this, don't jump through the screen at me, but
I
but but he kinda has a little bit of, like, Kanye West energy, like, he's so full of himself and almost,
Yeah,
what's the word?
except for he wasn't he didn't have
All the
going,
mental illness.
he
He had
didn't have all the
some,
mental
but
illness going on. He had addiction
yeah,
problems for sure. Um, yeah, I agree. I mean, I don't know if you've ever seen any interviews with Frank Zappa. Frank Zappa was also a very difficult interview. Very difficult
I
interview.
haven't.
Oh, he's whoo! If you watch interviews with Frank Zappa, you will get secondhand embarrassment for the person interviewing him. You're like, "Oh my god, I wanna go under a rock right now."
We'll
He was a
probably
very
have
difficult interview.
listen, we're Gen X, we'll probably have one of those interviews at some point one day. We'll be like, "What is wrong with them?" I mean,
He just
shit, you'd
didn't
probably think that talking with me.
he didn't I do not, I love talking to you. He just didn't Frank Savage just did not have the time of day for it. He didn't like to be interviewed, whereas John Lennon didn't care. He would talk to you and tell you exactly what he thought. He wasn't there to sugarcoat
Yeah,
anything, but he also wasn't annoyed by being interviewed. And I feel
yeah,
like if you're famous on some level, you need to shut the fuck up and be interviewed because that's kinda your job.
yeah.
It's like,
I
"Oh,
mean,
well,
it's
I want
still
my
hard
privacy."
though,
Well,
because
you don't get privacy, you're famous, fuck you. Do you want privacy or
yeah,
do you want billions of dollars? What do you want? You don't get to get both.
I agree. It's a
And
hard
and
choice.
and the fact that John Lennon was walking freely in New York City and felt safe there, and he said that many times that he felt safe there,
Yeah,
and fans could stand around the Dakota and he would sign stuff for him. He signed the Double Fantasy album for
I
Chapman
know.
and then asked him if there was anything else that he wanted. And that fucker sat around and waited for hours until he came back and he shot him in the fucking back.
Yeah, and I started to go down a wormhole to read about him to, like, figure out what was wrong with him, and then I decided against it because the episode wasn't about him, and I
Yeah.
don't give a shit.
Yeah, because fuck
Yeah,
that guy. Because rotten hell.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's why I didn't
yeah.
really wanna say his name, but I was like, "Nah, I kinda have to." It's kind of important that, you know, you
Well,
tell people
we're
who it
just
was that
saying that he's
fucking
a
did it.
loser. Yeah,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
alright, well, I guess we don't need a song list because we know all his songs, and if you don't, just go on Spotify or
Yeah.
Amazon Music and put in John Lennon and you'll realize you do know, like, every single one of them. Because I
You
was shocked
you
at how many words I remembered.
you do, and I will say, please go if you haven't heard Empty Garden, do go listen to it. It's very evocative, and, it definitely gives you all the feels. It's very well done.
Yeah, and then also while you're doing that, make sure you subscribe to our podcast when you're listening
Yes,
and share it with your friends because it is growing pretty fast. We're pretty excited about it, but we want it to spread like wildfire and
we do.
it's
And
fun. So
give us make sure you give us 5 stars on Spotify and anywhere else you can, give us a rating. It does help. It does help move us up the charts to be a little more recommended as well, which helps us grow, and we appreciate we appreciate you guys coming back every week and listening to us and being vested and enjoying.
I've been doing some of the editing and laughing at how different it is from episode 1 to where we're at now. So we're just gonna keep getting better. We're gonna evolve like John Lennon.
We are. We're not gonna have the
We're gonna
money
piss
that
you
he did,
off.
but we're gonna involve, and please nobody shoot me in the back. Please.
And I'm going to make bread right now, okay? All right. Have a good night.
Bye.
Bye.